The Raptors lose back-to-back games to the Boston Celtics and Indiana Pacers. They kept it close. Injuries happened, but let's go to the film room anyways. So today I want to talk about rookies. And the reason I left it for this back-to-back was because I thought it'd be a good time to kind of look at expectations for the rookies heading into this next little stretch. Because one, Scotty Barnes didn't play against the Indiana Pacers. Jakob Poeltl didn't play against the Boston Celtics. And so I think for the rest of the season, we're going to see this trend of guys being in and out of the lineup. The guys who won't be in and out of the lineup and will get plenty of playing time are the rookies. And I think there will be ample opportunities for those guys to develop, to show flashes, to struggle, and to ultimately just work on their craft. And so I figured now would be a good time to maybe set some expectations and things I want to see moving forward for the next 23 games, because why not? Jacobe Walter has been really impressive this season at getting in the mix of things. Obviously, the three-point shooting is a huge aspect, but I really like how he's taking more shots off the bounce and using his ball handling to try to get into opportunities. Not the most efficient scorer right now, still struggling at finishing in and around the basket, but generally you see the craft here, you see what he's trying to get at with these opportunities, barreling his way to the basket. And I think one of the things that you can see shine here for Jacobe is the fact that he's aggressive and willing to get to those spots. Ultimately, I think one of the things that really pops when you watch Jacobe is him defensively. He really locks in on that end, and I think he will end up being a positive defender for this team next season. It's hard to be one as a rookie, especially as a guard rookie, but I do think he'll be a positive defender next season. He's pretty close to being positive right now. I think some of the size and the weight is something that he has to overcome this year. Adding some size will be big for him moving forward in his career, but generally, I think he uses his length really, really well. I think he moves well laterally. And because the defensive side of the ball is there, when the shot making and the three-point shooting is there, that just gives you a really good two-way player. And I'm excited to see what year two Jacobe has in store for us. In terms of what I want to see for the next 23 games for Jacobe, it's pretty clear-cut. Consistently make your shots. Experiment with getting downhill more often, as we saw in some of those clips. Use your ball handling to be able to create your own shot in certain situations. And I think the coolest thing I would look for Jacobe in general is his knack for getting involved in activities. And I know that sounds pretty simple. Grady does a really great job of this as well, but it's constant movement. Like, something doesn't happen, if something doesn't shake out with him on the ball, he's passing it off, he's relocating, he's setting a screen, he's setting a down screen for someone, he's cutting to create an opening for someone else. And Jacobe has that same quality to him, which is really, really impressive to watch when you just focus in on Jacobe on a game. And I did that tonight, and it was fun to watch him kind of go through the motions of trying to figure out how he can impact the game without having the ball, which is really important for a guy who is likely going to be a role player for the first couple of seasons of his career as he develops out the rest of the things that he can do on the floor. Yeah, shooting is obviously his pathway. Samson Folk wrote about that recently, of how shooting is going to be his way to earn more minutes. I wrote about Jamison Battle and how shooting is going to be his way to earn more minutes. And we'll see if Battle will get more run with this team for the next stretch. I think he's going to be part of the 905 and like a big opportunity for the 905 to try and win a championship this year, because they do have that opportunity. But for Jacobe at the NBA level, being able to knock down your shots, being able to create off the bounce a little bit, becoming a better decision maker in terms of making reads offensively, and then, just kind of continuing to be aggressive and being active on the offensive end while still working on the defensive side of the ball. It's just a lot of things to throw on his plate, truthfully, but I think just seeing some sort of growth in those areas will be really intriguing for Jacobe. Let's move to Jamal Shead. All right, well, Jamal Shead has done a really good job of setting the tone, both as a playmaker and as a guy who can get downhill for the Raptors, using this downhill drive to create a corner three for Ochai Agbaji. And then here, against Baylor Shireman, just attacks off the bounce, settles into a floater. That floater will be important for him as he tries to finish in and around the basket here, drives and barrels his way through Peyton Pritchard, another drive, finishing over Sam Hauser. But again, some of these opportunities can be better. Here he gets the alley-oop to Jonathan Mogbo, but and over here he also gets another dump down to Mogbo. So the playmaking has been good generally for Jamal Shead, but I think there are certain opportunities where he can slow down the pace a little bit more, and instead of just going 100%, work on that pace, work on basically manipulating reads in the pick and roll to create advantages for his teammates. And so it's not about creating and seeing that opportunity immediately, but also like, pound dribble to see what's there first, assess your options. If nothing's there, continue on, maybe rescreen, keep going. Obviously, Shead is probably going to be the backup point guard for this team next season. And so he's going to take on a lot of responsibility in terms of, one, setting the pace for this team, two, getting guys involved. And I think the way to do that is not turn the ball over, take care of the ball. And to do that, you have to be able to make the right decisions to play at the pace that you want to. I think he's had moments and flashes, especially over the last couple of months, where he has done that. And he was a big part of the fourth quarter comeback against the Celtics. He has been a part of a couple of fourth quarter comebacks for the Raptors. The main area, and I didn't clip it in here because I didn't really see any that I wanted to highlight, is how he can work on the defensive end of the ball. I think between Jacobe and Jonathan Mogbo, they have two guys who will be high-level impact, maybe not high-level, but impactful defensive players starting next season off of the bench. And so you think of Jamal Shead, who has the reputation from Houston of being a really, really stout point-of-attack defender. I think the size has limited his ability to be that impactful defensively in the NBA. I want to see him find ways to win on that end. And he'll get tons of opportunity to do that. Certain matchups will be easier and better for him, but finding ways to win against larger players, finding ways to win against players who might be faster, finding ways to win against players who are just unorthodox in their approach. I think that will be the way to go. And I also think, this upcoming stretch where the Raptors are facing easier competition in the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards and et cetera, Charlotte Hornets and Philadelphia 76ers, and we'll talk about that in a sec. It gives these guys some opportunity to play against similar level competition to them so that they can kind of test out things that they've done and then go back and play some better competition, because they do play some decent teams here as well. It's kind of this good balance of, hey, we're going to play the Wizards for 2 nights. Okay, cool. Let's see how we can absolutely dominate the Wizards. Jamal, let's see how you can lock in and guard, Jordan Poole. Okay, let's see how you can do that on a 48-minute basis. And then, next game, okay, cool. You got to guard Cole Anthony, or you got to guard De'Aaron Fox, or you got to guard, they go on a West Coast road trip. I think they play the Suns again. You got to guard Tyus Jones or Bradley Beal and see how it goes. And so the difference in competition will actually help Jamal sharpen his tools defensively, in my opinion. Okay, Jonathan Mogbo, let's talk about it. So if you guys have been watching this for a while, I am a big Jonathan Mogbo fan. I think he has all the tools to be a really high-level, impactful player for the Raptors. He's obviously still working on that three-point shot, but I think becoming better or in and around the basket is going to be the key part for him. Creating advantages for himself. He has good feel as a passer, being able to seize those opportunities more often. Obviously, the defensive side of the ball is where he kind of earns his minutes here. A really great on-ball and off-ball defender. I would say a high-level guy right now, and generally will probably continue to be that. But he had a good game against the Indiana Pacers offensively. I think they set him up well to be a rim runner for this team and finish a lot of easy shots in and around the basket. But I like these drives, his ability to take the bump Thomas Bryant off his spot, and then, finish defensively here. He gets the steal using his length to poke it out, and then going all the way, bump against Tyrese Halliburton and finishes. I believe that ends up being a goaltending call. And I think that's part of what Mogbo can do on the offensive end. Again, another drive here, bumping Miles Turner and trying to finish over. it's that short mid-range area and like in and around the basket that Mogbo needs to improve at. And truthfully, it's mostly touch. As we see here, another drive opportunity against Miles Turner. This time he finishes. And so these are reps that he'll have to get in the offseason. I think that's a huge part of what Mogbo's game will be and developing over the next, I don't know, 6 to 7 months is fine-tuning the inside area for himself. Because yes, obviously they want him to become a really, really good three-point shooter. I think that's part of the equation with what Mogbo can do. But for the most part, how he's going to be able to be an impactful bench player for them next season is finishing at the basket at a high level, defending his butt off, being able to be this very, very versatile defender. And that's about it. Being a good rebounder as well. He was a great offensive rebounder to start the season. That's part of what he needs to do continuing moving forward as well. So what I want to see from him moving forward for the rest of the season is finishing at around the basket, being able, those drive situations that he had against Miles Turner and Thomas Bryant, more of those opportunities where he's putting the ball down and creating with his athleticism, but also finishing on those opportunities, working on his touch at around the basket. These are things that, like, look, Mogbo in college, and shout out to Josh Cotanera, great scout, one of my good friends, buddy, just my pal. But like he'll tell you, you go back and you watch Jonathan Mogbo tape, like he dunked the ball a lot in college. He dunked the ball so much that you sort of question if he actually had that level of touch and feel it around the basket. I'm not saying he didn't. I actually think he did have pretty good feel. Obviously, in San Francisco, they put the ball in his hands so much, so he was able to make plays, be this kind of like big point guard for them. And I think there's a chance he can be that for the Raptors as well off of the bench, especially with the way that they like to use their bigs as these high post playmaking hubs. But I also want to see him become a better rim runner, a guy who can finish around the basket, a guy who can leap out of the gym. And I know it's harder at 6'8" to do that because the NBA is just a world of bigs. And so the athleticism difference between him in college in San Francisco versus him in the NBA, it's drastic. But I think that's part of the growth that I want to see from Mogbo moving forward. I think he's already a very high level defender, and he's going to continue to win minutes by doing that. But like the offensive side of the ball, I think more than the 3-point shot, it's about being able to finish around the basket and doing it at a high level. I think he's only at like 55% right now. Last time I checked, I actually wrote about all this on Raptors Republic, by the way. So if you want to read the written version of it, yeah, last time I checked, he was at like 55 or 54% from 2-point land. And that's just not good enough for Jonathan Mogbo. Like most of his shots are in the restricted area or in the paint on 2-point attempts. That needs to be 65% and higher. And 65 isn't even that good for a guy who like doesn't shoot a lot of threes. Truthfully, it needs to be like 70%, to be really, really great. You look at like Walker Kessler, again, has 6 inches on Jonathan Mogbo probably. He's like 73% at the rim. So you need to get to that level. Like that's sort of the level, 67, 68% on twos. I think that's the way that he needs to go. Developing a push shot, developing a floater, developing stuff a little bit further away from the basket in that floater range will actually help him because he's a little bit smaller than a Walker Kessler or whoever you want to call. So that's part of what I think I want to see from Jonathan Mogbo moving forward. Look, I tweeted about this, but it will be interesting to see how the Raptors approach the rest of the season. They have 23 games left. 11 of them are against teams that are trying to make the playoffs or the play-in. And so I think it'll be easier for the Raptors to prioritize development in those situations, if you get what I'm saying, or lose those games, to put it frankly. But then they have 7 games against teams with worse records. So the Washingtons, the Charlottes, the New Orleans, they don't play New Orleans, but Utahs of the world. They have 7 games against those teams. And those are going to be tough to like game. I don't think, no matter how many guys you rest, and you it's just tough to figure out a way to like lose to those teams, man. And the reason I say lose to those teams is because the Philadelphia 76ers are barreling down the standings. They've lost 9 in a row. They just lost to the Knicks last night. They're only 2.5 games back of the Raptors. And the Raptors obviously have a much, much easier schedule. Now, that being said, Paul George has quitted podcasting. He's quit. He's done. He's done for the rest of the season. He's trying to get the Sixers to a championship. Uh, and we'll see if he holds true on that promise and if the Sixers actually turn around their season and try to make it to the play-in. I think given where they're at, they probably are more interested in making the play-in. I don't know. We'll see, man. Philadelphia is a very bizarre town when it comes to sports. That being said, for the Raptors' perspective, I think this is sort of the way this season is going to go moving forward, barring a Brandon Ingram debut, barring him coming back and playing with this group, which might happen. You know, if the Raptors are solid and like locked into a lottery odd spot where it's impossible for one of the teams above them to catch up to them, and it's impossible for the Raptors to get below anybody. I could see them bringing back Bi. I could see them bringing him back and just being like, hey, man, we have nothing to lose. You could win or lose these games, and we'd still have the 6th lottery odds or the 5th lottery odds. So let's see what we got. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe they hold Bi out the rest of the year. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We haven't really got any sort of details on that from the reporting side of things, so we don't know. That being said, barring an Ingram return, it seems like this will be the way of the season. Development, good development, I think. I think Darko Rajakovic deserves credit for the way the team is bought in to the way that he's coaching and to like not letting go of the rope. I think that's an important aspect because a lot of teams, I mean, you just saw the Charlotte Hornets. I don't know if anybody saw this, but they had the worst 3-game stretch in NBA history. They lost by an average of 36 points. That's letting go of the rope, right? And truthfully, the Raptors had a portion this season where they did let go of the rope for a little bit, right? They won at 16. They had a terrible stretch themselves where they lost by like 31 points on average. So it wasn't good, but they got the rope back, right? They got that thing, and now they're holding on to it. And I think that level of buy-in from the young guys, from the older guys, I think it's a testament to the coaching and how much they actually believe in what they're doing there. So shout out to Darko, shout out to the coaching staff. They've got these guys locked in because you see them competing on every given night, man. Like they came back against the Celtics. They were trying to make a comeback against the Pacers tonight. They generally did a great job against the Phoenix Suns, although there was some terrible shooting from the Suns' perspective, but they won the game. And so they're in these games against teams that are trying to make the playoffs, that are trying to make deep playoff runs, or in the case of the Celtics, trying to win a championship. So just something to keep in mind, in my opinion, moving forward as we kind of go through the ebbs and flows of the season. Anyways, folks, thank you very much for tapping into Raptors Republic. Appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. Thank you very much. See you guys on Friday. Chicago. I've always wanted to go to Chicago. Anyways, whatever. See you guys later. Bye.